The Blast from Our Past Network.
Hi, this is Steve Kostansky, director of The Void and Psycho Gorman, and you're listening to Podcasting After Dark.
Lock your doors, close your windows, turn out your lights, for chills and thrills await you. It's time for Podcasting After Dark with your hosts, Corey Stevenson and Zach Schaefer. Stay with a friend, say your prayers as grisly ghouls close in to seal your doom. Tonight's episode, Deathstalker, starring Rick Hill, Barbie Benton, and Lana Clarkson.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of Podcasting After Dark. I am one half of the Pad Team, Corey, a.k.a. Sleazy C. This movie's right up my alley. Joined with me, as always, is my brother from another mother, Zach, the total snackhead Schaefer. How's it going, buddy?
This isn't Zach. This is Man-at-Arms. This is Duncan. And here's my what if for this evening. What if He-Man was a dick? What if He-Man, well, was an asshole? You're about to find out in 1983's Deathstalker. I'll be back throughout the program to remind you not to play with sharp tools because you might lose a finger or an arm.
Or an eyeball.
Or an eyeball, too. That's right, Corey.
Oh, man.
Woo.
Yeah, is this guy a hero, or is he an anti-hero, or is he just a doofus that kind of stumbles his way through an adventure? We'll decide. We'll figure all that out as we discuss Deathstalker. Zach, have you ever seen this movie?
I have never seen Deathstalker.
Oh my God, I'm shocked by that.
I remember the posters. I remember all of that good stuff. And I know why I never saw Deathstalker. Conan O'Brien came out. No, Conan the Barbarian came out. What was that? 82, I want to say 82 or 83, 82. Yeah. And I was like, whoo, this is great. But I was 7. How old was I in 82? Do the math. Carry the 2, add a 1. I was 6 years old in 82 and saw Conan in 82 or 83 and saw a lot of boobs. And I was like, it was making me uncomfortable. You're going to watch it anyways, said my brother. And so I think when Deathstalker came around, I was like, I think there's a lot more boobs in this than there was in Conan. And I wasn't there yet because puberty had not kicked in. Yeah. So I was like, I don't want to watch this. I want to watch Beastmaster where he plays with 2 little roly-poly things. And
little ferrets.
Little ferrets, and the rest is history. Yeah, so I never saw it. And I think specifically because because it was a hard R. And, it just got lost in the collection of so many sword and sorcery type movies. I saw Sword and Sorcerer with Lee Horsley and Dungeon Master and countless others, but never saw Deathstalker, Dreamwalker. Deathstalker's gonna run in your face.
Oh man! Well, you mentioned that cover, that famous poster / VHS cover by Boris Vallejo. He was obviously the artist that did the National Lampoon's poster, National Lampoon's Vacation poster. Comic book collectors back in the 80s, they knew who he was. He's married to Julie Bell, another kind of fantasy muscle artist. We follow her on Podcasting After Dark, but they're still around. I believe, Boris is still alive. But yeah, as a kid, I was always gravitated towards any cover by Boris Vallejo. I loved his art as a kid, but I was never a big sword and sorcery fan. I probably didn't even really enjoy. I know I saw Conan when I was younger, but I probably didn't really even dig it until I was in middle school or maybe even high school.
Yeah.
It's just like in the 80s, man, like I was the only really sword and sorcery movies I watched were either if I caught Excalibur on, like we talked about on HBO or something, and I would confuse it with Legend because they kind of both looked like had that hazy look to me as a kid, or I watched Lady Hawk. And that was
yeah.
kind of it, because given a choice between, say, maybe getting Deathstalker or what was it? The Eliminators, the Exterminators. What's the one with the guy with the robotic legs, the tank tread
That's
legs?
the Eliminators.
The Eliminators. Okay, so given Deathstalker or renting the Eliminators, I would always go with the Eliminators. I always either gravitated towards sci-fi, action, or post-apocalyptic action. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I never even caught Deathstalker, because I don't even know if it was like, what did it even pop up on like TBS or Skinemax or anything like that. But watching it now, oh boy, I fucking loved it.
Well, I think we can appreciate it now a lot more because we're adults. But as kids in the 80s, no way. I mean, I was watching He-Man at this time,
Right.
so I was into like safe sword and sorcery, and that was super tame and geared towards kids because we were kids. This is definitely not a kids movie. This is a Crystal movie. From
Yes,
T
it is.
to B. From T to B.
Yeah, big shout out to Crystal. She picked this one for us to review via Patreon. I remember in the past she's given us Monster Squad and was it Intruder?
Intruder, yeah.
Is it Intruder? What the hell?
Let me look it up.
It is Intruder, right? My God, my brain is literally
Yeah,
farting.
Intruder.
Yeah, Intruder. Yeah, my brain just literally collapsed in on itself. I was like, I said the words, I was like, that doesn't sound right though. But yeah, this is definitely a Crystal movie, and it's definitely a sleazy C movie as well. But here's the thing, Zach. I'm not just saying I love it because of the T and A and almost seeing like at least 5 buttholes in it, like if you look hard enough. And one of those is actually a man's butthole. But dude, and we're gonna have to do this. I'm gonna compare this a lot to Beastmaster because they came out relatively the same time. And they're both sword and sorcery stuff. But I was so much more impressed with how this movie looked overall. Like the sets I thought looked better, the locations I thought looked better than Beastmaster, and like the jokes in this, like the acting, even though it's a little bit weird in this movie, I feel like it all fits better. I will say Mark Singer is a better looking hero, but I kind of like Deathstalker better because he's kind of an asshole.
I like Rick Hill more, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I actually like this movie more because one, it's 80 minutes long, and two,
And
yeah,
Deathstalker was 2 hours.
Beastmaster was
Sorry.
2 hours. Yeah. And you know, this movie does not take itself seriously at all. It pokes fun at every moment it gets, and I love that. It's got elements of Flash Gordon in it. It's got elements of, you know, pulp comics, like you know, it feels at times like I'm watching a comic book come to life, and you know, for lack of a budget or lack of special effects, it makes up for it in other ways. It's really entertaining, and you can't say it's boring because it goes by so damn fast.
Yeah, it's so well paced. Sometimes I'm just like, oh my God, I actually could take, you know, a couple more minutes of it, but I think it's pretty perfectly paced. It doesn't take itself too seriously. And I like how you mentioned it's like a comic book, because even though this was 83, I was in the 90s, like early 90s. I could easily get my hands on adult comics easier than, like, say, adult movies, you know, when you're in your teens in the early 90s. So I was reading like a lot of Air Cell comics, specifically a series called Sapphire by Barry Blair.
I remember that comic book.
Yeah, it's 1990. I actually still have the trade paperback of it. Barry Blair's he's passed away a while ago now, I think late 90s. But he's one of my favorite artists growing up as a kid. And so I'm watching, like, and I'm seeing what the characters are wearing in this movie. And I'm like, to me, it feels so familiar because of these comics that I would read, but they were from the 90s. So clearly they were influenced, Barry Blair and everything was influenced by movies like Deathstalker, you know, but for me, watching it sort of in reverse, I'm like, oh, but this still feels familiar to me because of these Air Cell comics from back in the day.
Oh yeah, totally. I see that. Also elements of like, if you look at Dragon's Lair, the video game, it's a very like the princess is very, you know, it fits the mold of what this is as well.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm a big Dragon's Lair fan. I love Don Bluth's animation, but Princess Daphne, I always liked the fact that out of all the, like the Princess Peach and everything, like she was always a little bit more sexy, like because she had those Don Bluth, you know, pointy teardrop boobs, kind of like how Bruce Timm did in Batman the Animated Series and everything like that. You know, I love that art style. Zach's going to have a hard time with this episode because I'm going to be completely open about everything, and he's going to sit there and smile at me and be like, and sweat.
Well, if anyone disparages my daughter Tila, then we will be having words because no one talks bad about Tila or dirty about Tila. And remember, kids, if you get dirty, wash your hands, at least for 60 seconds.
I have very dirty thoughts about Tila, and I always have. But yeah, and I think, yeah, so if I didn't say it, that's to say that I never watched this as a kid, and this is my first time watching it now, and I love it more than Beastmaster. So we can actually just end the review right there.
Yeah, thank you, Crystal. That was awesome. Thank you for your contributions. And if you guys want the shortest breakdown ever, subscribe to our Patreon, patreon.com/podcastingafterdark, where you get to be an executive producer of our show, produce the content. We'll break it down for you, even if it's 11 minutes like this is so far for Crystal. You're welcome, Crystal.
Just kidding.
And as always,
we'll catch you on the dark side.
Square Skeletor.
You wanna get into the cast and crew on this one?
Yeah, because when we mention the director, we're not going to mention the director. Well, we're going to mention the director in a very funny way because, well, we'll get to that. Actually, yeah, let's get to the director. So the poster says it's directed by John Watson, but if you go to IMDb, the director for this film is credited as James Sbardellati, and well,
he's done a lot of first first assistant director stuff, specifically The Island of Dr. Moreau, which you all should know the backstory behind that one by this point. But, Zach, I got to point out that he was the first AD on the movie Frailty, which is a damn good movie that stars Bill Paxton, Matthew McConaughey, Powers Booth, and I think there was somebody else, like the younger brother. I can't remember who it was. But that's a great fucking movie.
It is a great movie. He's credited with directorial credits, just another film called Under the Gun that came out in 1987 with Sam J. Jones, a.k.a. Flash Gordon, and Vanessa Williams, and Nick Cassavetes, the one from The Wraith that you love so much.
Yes, his soft face. He was actually the first AD on the Beastmaster as well.
Whoa, interesting.
So
I kind of want to... Yeah. I kind of want to rewatch Under the Gun, by the way, because the cast in it is phenomenal. Chris Mulkey from Dreamscape, Babcock and Finch and Babcock. Yeah. What did you know?
What does he know, bitch?
Bill McKinney from Deliverance. He's the one that rapes Ned Beatty. And Stephen Williams from Jason Goes to Hell.
Oh, yeah.
And 21 Jump Street. So
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah. So, in parentheses for this one, they say John Watson. So maybe he just went by a different. Maybe he did like a Gordon. What do you call it? Alan Smithy type thing.
I think so. Yeah, I believe so. Because it's also in the credits of the movie as well. The John Watson or whatever. So
yeah.
Randy Watson.
Randy. The writer is Howard Cohen. He's got a few films to his credit that are interesting. Time Trackers, which came out in 1989. That one, Ned Beatty is in. I feel like I've seen it before. It's just been a minute since I've seen it. Space Raiders, which is it's a Star Wars ripoff, but it's got David Mendenhall from, of course, Over the Top, and he played Daniel in Transformers, the movie. Daniel!
Yeah, now see, this is another example, a movie that I would rent over Deathstalker. Like, I would rent Space Raiders. I rented that a ton as a kid. I rented, like, that movie we talked about before, Millennium, a ton as a kid. I watched Enemy Mine a ton as a kid, and that's why I didn't really watch Deathstalker.
Well, this Space Raiders was rated PG, and Deathstalker is definitely not.
Right, exactly. And, of course, although it's funny where I really don't think that was probably a consideration when I was a kid, whether it was PG or R, because I pretty much could just rent R-rated movies, you know?
Look, Corey, what do you want? Deathstalker or Space Raiders? I want, Spaceman movie. All right, Space Raiders it is. All right, so should we get to the cast?
Let's just call it one more name on the crew before we move on to the cast. Roger Corman, the legendary Roger Corman. This was the last movie he produced for New World Pictures.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, well, it's because this movie did so poorly. No, I'm kidding. I don't know. But that's cool. If you haven't listened to our breakdown or a discussion about the documentaries we've done this month, My Pick talks about a guy very similar to Roger Corman, if you're interested in that. So go back a couple episodes and listen to that one as well.
Yeah, Al Adamson.
Yeah. Credits for cast. Let's talk about the cast. Rick Hill plays Deathstalker. Rick Hill actually has quite a resume of movies that he's worked on and television shows.
Yeah, no, I was actually pretty surprised when I saw him in all these different movies, and then kind of don't really can picture him in them.
Yeah, I mean, he's wearing a wig in this, so he probably looks dramatically different. Well, not too much different, but a bunch of TV shows. There was a Stir Crazy TV show based on the movie with Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder, and he was in one episode of that. I thought that was interesting to note. Matlock, Dukes of Hazzard, Cheers, Magnum PI,
Hunter.
Yeah, exactly. He spent a lot of time on Days of Our Lives, which obviously was a very popular soap opera. That tracks because he kind of has a soap opera look to him. I love that. I love that he's in this, playing such a dirty He-Man.
He is a dirty He-Man, and not just like physically, but like mentally and everything. And I do find it interesting that he doesn't play Deathstalker in Deathstalker 2 or 3, but he reprises his role in Deathstalker 4, Match of Titans.
Well,
everybody needs a paycheck.
Everybody needs a paycheck. We'll see you next time. Barbie Benton plays Codile?
I know.
Codile?
By the way, this movie's got the
Codile.
weirdest fucking names. Like Deathstalker's not really a name, but then that's his name, and then everyone else has an actual name, but it's really, really weird. So yeah, she's like Princess Codile.
Codile, yes, thank you. Barbie Benton, she's known for being very attractive. That's her claim to fame, I believe. She was in a movie called X-Ray, which if you haven't seen, that's a pretty decent horror film.
It's one of those horror subgenres, the hospital horror, right?
Yes, exactly.
What's another one like Visiting Hours or something?
Yeah, Visiting Hours is another good one. Yep, for sure. So I mean, she's known for being extremely attractive.
And she was a Playboy Playmate or something too, I think.
Yeah, that tracks.
Yeah. Of course.
Richard Brooker, who plays Augis. First of all, he looks like a professional wrestler. He looks a little bit like Paul London, actually. He played Jason in Friday the 13th, Part 3.
Yes, and it's funny because today is literally the, I think the 42nd anniversary. Wait, hold on, because it came out in 82. Sorry.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, 42nd anniversary. So today is literally the 42nd anniversary of Friday the 13th, Part 3, which is one of my favorites. It kind of, I love 10, Jason X, in space. And kind of like part 2 and part 3, like one day I'll be feeling part 2 more, and then the next day I'll be feeling part 3 more. But 2 and 3 are kind of tied for my favorites of the original, movies.
Is part 3 with Crispin Glover?
Crispin Glover's part 4. Part 3 is the one where he gets his mask.
That's right. Yes,
Yeah,
the birth of his mask, yes.
Yeah, Glover's part 4.
Yeah, so I feel like it's a shame that this guy hasn't done much more. He has a movie credited to his name called Deep Sea Conspiracy from 1987. I kind of want to see that, based on the description, and sounds fantastic. Yeah, he hasn't done a lot, but he's really good. I think he's decent.
Yeah, I mean, and him and Rick Hill just had rockin' bods in this movie. They both are like chiseled specimens.
Well, I agree.
Well, I mean, it's like if you have, I just find it nice that, like, you got the 2 lead females are smoking hot and half naked, and the 2 lead males are smoking hot and half naked. I think that's just equality right there.
Totally. Yeah, the other female lead you're talking about is Lana Clarkson, who plays Kira. And she's got, she played Mrs. Vargas in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. At the very end, you see the science teacher bring his wife out and introduce Mrs. Vargas to everybody, and he's like this creepy looking science teacher who has this beautiful wife. It's really funny. I think everyone will go, at this point, everyone listening will go, oh yeah, I remember her in the dance, the big dance at the end of Fast Times at Ridgemont High. But she's got a bunch of screen credits to her name. I will say, though, she's notable, I think, for more than her acting, because in 2003, she was dating Phil Spector, and Phil Spector murdered her.
Oh my God, she's the one. Oh, wow.
So on February 3rd, 2003, Clarkson was found dead in the mansion belonging to record producer Phil Spector. In the early hours of that morning, she met Spector while working at the House of Blues in Los Angeles. They left the House of Blues, which is gone now, by the way. They left the House of Blues in Spector's limousine and drove to his mansion. Spector and Clarkson went inside while his driver waited outside. About an hour later, the driver heard a gunshot before Spector exited his house through the back door with a gun. He was quoted as saying, "I think I just shot her."
And this is what he went to jail for, right? This murder?
Yeah, because he later said that her death was accidental suicide and that she kissed the gun. He was found guilty of murdering her, and he was sentenced to 19 years to life in state prison. He died in 2021 while serving his sentence.
Yeah. Wow, I didn't know that was her. Holy shit.
I didn't either, because she looks very different in this. Clearly,
Yeah.
30 years later. So anyways, tragic story too. I believe, someone who could rival Red Sonja or, Brigitte Nielsen or Sandal Bergman from Conan.
Yeah, no, she was actually, I liked her more than Barbie Benton. And maybe it's just the character, but I thought she was awesome. And yeah, I totally got Red Sonja vibes from her because she was sexy. She was, even though she was topless, she was still like ready to kick ass, or just did kick ass. And I was like, damn girl, like she's doing all that like totally topless and shit. So yeah, dude, I liked her character, not just for the visual qualities, but for the badassery as well.
Yeah, very much like a heavy metal character come to life.
Oh, absolutely, dude.
Victor Boow plays Kang. Kang, not to be confused with Kang from Marvel. Yeah,
that guy's been canceled though.
Yeah,
Kang
sold. He's been Kang sold. So he's from Argentina, and so most of his, if not almost all of his roles are from Argentinian films. But he was in Barbarian Queen as well with Lana Clarkson, another movie they were both in.
Yeah, and it's nice because I actually have that on that 4-pack Roger Corman DVD. I think Barbarian Queen's one of them. Deathstalker 2 is the other one. And then the other one's the one where, is it David Carradine? It's like Sorcerer and the something or whatever.
Well, he was in one of the Deathstalker movies too.
Okay.
So I think it is a Deathstalker. I think it's like Deathstalker 5 or something like that.
Well, and it makes sense that Kang, Victor Boow, is from Argentina because that's where they filmed this movie. And I think the rest of the cast is pretty much Argentinian.
Okay, well, interesting. Including Augusto Larreta, who plays Salmeron. Kind of a big letdown when it came to his reveal. You're like, this guy.
Yeah, this was these jokes I didn't think really landed. Like, you see what they're trying to do with the jokes, and especially later when he falls in the harem chamber and stuff like that. But it just, nothing for me really landed with him. And sometimes I just forgot he was in the movie and just kind of wished he got completely cut from it from the beginning.
So last but not least, Bernard Earhart, he doesn't have an IMDb photo. However, his resume is worth noting. He plays Munkar. Quite a few voice acting credits to his resume, including the infamous lead villain of the GoBots, Psykill from GoBots. I mean, come on.
I mean, that's awesome because Psykill was probably the best character on the GoBots. But he was also Cryotech in Visionaries, Knights of the Magical Light.
Visionaries, magical powers take flight. Magical powers. And he was in Little Nemo, Adventures in Slumberland. Low key, by the way, probably my favorite Nintendo video game was Little Nemo, Adventures in Slumberland. It's a really fun game. If you've never played Little Nemo, it's so magical. The opening to it is there's a really long intro. The video game's great. But yeah, he was King Morpheus in Little Nemo. The fact that GoBots Battle of the Rock Lords has not been released on DVD or anything is a travesty. That movie has to come out. If you look up who's in that movie, it's just a shame that it's never come out.
I got another one for you, buddy. He played General Plague in Sky Commanders.
I mean, Sky Commanders rules.
Yeah, those toys were great. That cartoon was freaking great. Yeah, man, like he's so kind of doofy looking in the movie. Although I do like him a lot better than, who was the villain in Beastmaster? Was it Rip Torn?
Yes.
Yeah, I like him so much better than the villain of Beastmaster, even though he's also a little bit like, you're like, how can this guy like pose a threat type of thing? But it's all magic. But then you see his like voice, his voice work, and you're like, oh my God, it's insane.
Right, dude, come on. He was also in a movie he's also in a TV movie. It was a pilot for a potential cartoon called Solar Man.
Yes, I remember that comic book series, by the way.
Yeah, Solar Man, that I do too. I didn't know they made a cartoon. I kind of want to watch it. Unsold animated TV pilot about an aspiring teenage comic book artist who's given an alien bracelet by a dying alien scientist that turns him into a superhero powered by the sun who must stop an evil galactic overlord from destroying it. Sign us up, please, for Solar Man.
Yeah, I have the first issue. I still have it in my mom's basement. Yeah, I had that comic.
Have to watch this. My God, so good. Yeah, and like, please, somebody release GoBots in the Battle of the Rock Lords, please.
For the love of God. Yeah, seriously.
Seriously, like the voiceover cast for that, it's Margot Kidder, Roddy McDowall, Telly Savalas, Michael Bell, who played Duke in G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
Peter Cullen, Ike Eisenman, and Michael Nouri. So good, dude. Frank Welker also. Like, so many great voice actors and screen actors in that movie. It has to happen.
I wonder what's holding it back. I mean, a lot of times we know that it's music rights is what holds it back, but it's never like really the actors' rights, right? Because they would have already signed the contract right back then. It's all about the music, isn't it? Usually.
Yeah. So what's the hold up?
What's the deal?
What's going on? Come on, make it happen. Anyways, Deathstalker. Dreamwalker. Bald guy with a tattoo on his head's, oh, gonna get you. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, baby. Let's get into some sword and sleaze.
Journey to an age of great kingdoms. An age of awesome magic. An age of terrifying evil. Where one man sought the key to the ultimate power. He was the man they called Deathstalker.
Reunite the three powers. You will be power.
A brave man could get inside Munkar's castle and kill him.
If he can capture the amulet of life, he will rule the world. But an evil wizard stands in his path. And to the victor, a beautiful princess. The greatest challenge. The greatest adventure. The most legendary hero of them all. The man they called Deathstalker. The last great warrior king. Starring Richard Hill and Barbie Benton.
Oh, Crystal, you chose a movie that not only checks off all the boxes for everything that we love, it's also 80 minutes long. It's less than Trancers, I believe, or maybe Trancers was 78 minutes. Whatever, who cares? It's gold.
Yeah, and I do know that it's an ongoing conversation that we have about movie lengths and everything, and it's not just about breaking down the movie, but I think it's about pacing too. And I mean, one of the things that we know, we're not throwing Guyver 2 under the bus, but we both agree that it would be a better movie if it was trimmed down and you wouldn't have 20-minute swaths between action scenes, And here you got like 5-10 minutes and then another action scene, and then but in that 5 or 10 minutes is nudity. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like you never don't have something happening on screen in Deathstalker because everything is so condensed. And yeah, it's not just about the break, like how long it takes to break it down. It's about the pacing and just how the movie feels. And Beastmaster could have trimmed 30 minutes as well. And I guarantee you we would have enjoyed that more. And we didn't break that one down. We just discussed it, So it's not about the breakdown. It's just, I think it's about pacing personally.
Oh yeah. It's not about the length. It's about the quality.
Yeah, exactly. It's how you use it, right?
Well, last time He-Man's power sword was not the largest sword in the universe, but it is the most powerful sword in the universe. Just remember that, kids. When you play with something, make sure it's powerful. It doesn't have to be big. We'll see you next time.
Wait, did Duncan fuck the sorceress to have Tila, or no? Did Tila appear? I can't remember.
They
were a couple, right?
They
Duncan
adopted,
and sorceress.
yeah, but they adopted. Well, in the cartoon, they kind of adopted Tila. I think they tried to change it as it evolved over time. I think they were linked up romantically. But the sorceress is the mother of Tila, and Duncan is her adopted. It's her stepfather. Right.
But yeah, because in Revelations, that new Netflix show, and I know you're caught up on that.
Yeah.
I thought, Duncan and her were romantically involved.
In that, yes.
Yeah.
But
okay.
that there's no canon for Masters of the Universe.
Right, because the comic books were different that came with the toys. The cartoon was different from, I think, the Marvel comics or the DC comics as well. So yeah, and then the movie itself, which is what I liked about the Dolph Lundgren movie, which is what I liked about the Revelations, the Netflix series, is it really tried to make one coherent canon for everything, even including the live action film as well.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
But
too.
it's a retcon, of course.
Yeah, for sure. But there's no Duncan in this. Only Deathstalker.
No. Yeah, because Salmeron, God, the names are terrible. He's not even an Orko, man.
He's not even a Hans Zarkov from Flash Gordon, because this definitely has Flash Gordon vibes,
right,
with the harem pit and kind of like the presentation of everybody being in the banquet hall, just like when Flash first shows up to Ming the Merciless's the bald villain, to that damsel in distress who's kind of annoying with dark hair. It's Flash Gordon vibes.
Yeah, well, I mean, it makes
Blonde
sense.
hero.
When did the movie Flash Gordon come out? Because I know the comic and the serials were out way before, but when did the modern film come out?
I think the modern one came out in 1982, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Because I saw that in the theater. No, I'm sorry. That came out in 1980. That was the first movie I ever saw in the theater. I was 5 years old when that came out. So. Oh,
that's nice. Yeah. For me, first movie I can remember seeing in the theater was Return of the Jedi. I think 5 is that magical year that, that you kind of remember that stuff. So anyways, but 1980, you said, Flash Gordon, clearly enough time to influence the writing of this film.
Oh, big time. Lead hero, cocky and hunky and totally
blonde,
Flash Gordon.
Blonde hair, long blonde hair.
Right.
I feel you, buddy. All right, let's get into this.
Crystal's talk about my movie now.
The movie starts with the awesome New World Pictures logo. Then the Deathstalker title card and theme kick in.
So cool.
Yeah, I like that title card too. It's a really cool title card. Credits play as the scene opens with numerous sword-wielding mutants climbing through a window in an old, destroyed castle. The mutants spread out and search the abandoned stronghold. They eventually sneak up on a bandit and his prize, a captured maiden. The bandit doesn't see the mutants until they're on top of him. And so, real quick, I'll just call it out now. We're going to be spending the first 5 minutes or so in this abandoned, ruinous castle. This set looks fucking great, dude. It looks better already out of the gate. It looks better than any set in Beastmaster.
Totally agree. And the villains, they're clearly wearing masks, but the makeup is cool looking. Look, I LARPed for a while. I love live action role playing. I play D&D on a regular basis. I love using my imagination. It's suspension of disbelief in these movies. If they're so hokey and cheesy, just buy into it. So even though the special effects are terrible at times, you just have fun with it because they're having fun with it. And meanwhile too, this guy's about to rape this woman, which is really bad. Yeah. And then continue.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of rapiness in this movie.
If this was remade, Stephen Kostanski actually will be remaking this film, right?
Yeah, no, thank you for bringing that up, and I think that was kind of the impetus for Crystal to pick this because, I think Stephen Kostanski is currently filming the Deathstalker remake that I think got crowdfunded on Kickstarter or whatever. So we plan on reviewing that as soon as it comes out because we love his work. We covered The Void, and then we never properly reviewed The Void.
No, we never did The Void, but we did Psycho Gorman.
We did Psycho Gorman, and we interviewed Stephen Kostanski. So we talked to him about The Void, but we never actually did it. I would actually like to break down The Void one of these days and cover it on the show proper.
Yeah, we're gonna do our best to get Stephen Kostanski back on the show in 2025.
When Deathstalker comes out.
For sure, because we love that guy, and he loves all the movies that we love, and, bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah, and as I'm watching this, I know that there's, Stephen Costanzi is making the remake, and I can see why. I can be like, okay, I can see what parts you kind of want to punch up a little bit, and maybe what parts you want to take back. So we'll see if his Deathstalker is as rapey as this one is. But, spoiler alert, I don't think so. But spoiler alert, that's kind of the thing that sort of keeps me from really loving the protagonist in this movie, is he's kind of an a-hole, and he's kind of rapey.
Yeah, the anti-He-Man is not as chivalrous as my He-Man, a.k.a. Prince Adam.
Yeah, this is fucking true.
I wouldn't have done that if that was me. Of course you wouldn't, Adam. Now go back to bed.
Now go play Santa Claus. Put a big pillow under your shirt.
Ho, 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 everybody. It's me, Santa Claus.
Oh, and by the way, I don't have like a lot of factoids on this movie because there wasn't a lot on IMDb, and the DVD that I have didn't have any extras on it. But one thing I found interesting is all these mutants here were a part of a local mime troupe. And moving on.
Well, no, I off because I'm miming to Corey right now how excited I am about that. But none of you at home know what I'm doing because you're listening to this. And mimes don't talk unless you're Pokemon mime. Mime. I'm on fire tonight, baby.
You are, baby. When the bandit sees he's surrounded, he puts down his sword, then takes out a bag of shiny coins and throws them on the ground as a distraction as he runs away. Now, obviously, take note that he put down his sword because he has it later. But that's the kind of movie this is,
Hey, whatever.
Exactly. The mutants chase him through the ruined castle, leaving the maiden behind for one of the mutants to have his way with her. As the bandit is being chased through the castle, we see the one mutant is carrying the maiden over his shoulder. You can tell the actress is trying hard not to have her butthole on camera during the scene. A lot of the actresses are trying real hard to clench their butt cheeks.
Do you remember Eddie Murphy when he was imitating Mr. T? And he's like,
yes.
Don't clench your butt cheeks or rip your dick off.
Eddie Murphy. I know. Was that Raw? Yeah,
that was Raw.
Yeah.
No, that was Delirious.
Okay. I watched Raw more than Delirious, but I did watch Delirious a lot as a kid.
Yeah, but by the way,
I feel like everyone's friend had their parents had taped that. Like everyone knew somebody who had Raw or Delirious on VHS.
Yeah, Delirious was my first introduction to Eddie Murphy, and it was like, whoo, what is this? This is so, I'm not supposed to say any of these words. This is hilarious. By the way, and I wrote this down in my notes, I meant to say this in the onset. You show this movie to anyone now in 2024, a millennial, and they'll think that AI made this movie. Guaranteed. They'll say this is not a real movie. AI made this movie.
AI wrote this movie.
Because there's
a good point.
Yeah, it's like, holy shit, this is what AI does now. This is totally what AI does. Weird, like the fan-made AI-made trailer for Legend of Zelda. I'm like, it's Deathstalker.
but back in 1983, it took a whole crew to make a movie that AI would just make now. Oh man, you're not wrong. The bandit sees a horse and runs over to it, thinking he's going to escape. But the asshole face of Deathstalker steps out of the shadows and blocks his path. He says, "That's my horse." Say it like Prince Adam.
Hey, that's my horse.
I don't have a lot of dialogue to track, but I may have Zach just do Prince Adam
as Prince Adam.
The Deathstalker stuff.
You mean not He-Man?
No,
too
Prince
bad
Adam.
for too bad.
Too bad for you. Too bad.
You mean Prince Adam? Okay. Wow.
The mutants surround Deathstalker and the bandit. And the one holding the maiden is there too, and he puts her down. One of the mutants tells Deathstalker that their fight is not with him. Our hero looks over at the bound maiden and takes out his sword and starts killing the mutants. Once he dispatches them all, he turns his sights on the bandit. The bandit tells Deathstalker that he will share his gold and the woman from the valley with him. Our hero says,
"The one who lives here won't be very pleased."
The Bandit pleads with the hulking man, telling him to take it all. Deathstalker says,
I intend to. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
Then throws a knife into the Bandit's chest as he raises his sword, which I thought he dropped earlier, you know. But
well, I thought so too.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, what the hell just happened? AI. It's AI.
As the man lays dying in the dirt, Deathstalker says,
This just isn't your day, is it? He-Man.
He-Man. Then turns back and looks at the maiden from the valley. He lifts up her arms and he cuts the ropes binding her. He then undoes her top and starts rubbing her breasts.
Yeah.
To make it less rapey, she likes it, so they start kissing.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, you know, well, she was there, and that's what warriors do. Man.
We're literally like 4 minutes into the movie, and like I know everything I need to know about Deathstalker at this point.
Yeah, this movie is the template for what would later just be straight, you know, extended 3-minute love scene.
Yeah, it's Skinemax. This is the template for Skinemax films, you know, be coming down the road.
And Crystal's going, yep.
Yep.
Go on.
They're about to go all the way until an old man interrupts them.
Take me all the way.
Deathstalker tells him to wait outside, but when he looks back, the maiden has disappeared into the woods. Deathstalker sighs and says,
This isn't my day either. Man.
He-Man. Now this is when I noted I kind of get Kevin Sorbo vibes from him.
Oh, Kevin Sorbo. What a piece of crap that guy is now. What?
I know.
I mean, he just went the route of Kirk Cameron. He went straight down the hole. I love how Lucy Lawless like outed him for being just a total dipshit back in their Hercules days. Yeah, total Kevin Sorbo vibes when Kevin Sorbo was sort of considered cool. Was he ever? I mean, no.
I never watched Hercules, man. I was never a fan of that show.
I mean, look, I don't want to alienate any of our listeners and friends because I know we have a lot that love those shows back in the day, along with I don't want to even go there. That's okay. If you like that stuff, totally fine. That's my motto. I didn't watch those shows. I just didn't. And now look at Kevin Sorbo.
Yeah, last time I was at the movie theater watching Deadpool and Wolverine, there was a giant stand-up there for some movie that has like, you know, it looks like a prison escape movie or something. It looks like something straight to video. Has 3 actors' heads on it, one of which is Kevin Sorbo. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, there's no... Why would Kevin Sorbo have a movie that's coming out in the theaters?
At your local movieplex?
Yeah. If
Where
it's,
do you
I'm going to be
live?
there. I'm going to be there tomorrow, and if I am, I'll take a picture of it and send it to you because it looks like a straight to VHS, you know, prison escape movie or something with Kevin Sorbo and 2 other people who I have no clue who they are, and it was a standee in the theater, and I'm just like, oh my god, like really?
Is this just showing us how bad the movie industry is now that we're putting movies like that in the theater?
I mean, I guess so, but then Deadpool and Wolverine have made like $1 billion worldwide. So, you know, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Wow.
So, I'll take a picture though. If it's still there tomorrow, I'll take a picture of it.
When you go to the movie theater, make sure the movie you see has a Rotten Tomato rating of at least more than 4%, unlike Borderlands.
Yeah.
And now you know.
Oh boy.
Woo.
No.
Nope. Never.
Deathstalker leaves the castle and meets with its king outside. He grabs a piece of meat and says,
If you get any poorer, you're going to have to eat that dog.
The king says he hopes it'll be as tasty as the one Deathstalker is currently enjoying. And of course, of course, there's a dog next to the king, and it's like, you know, does the you know,
that was funny. I was like, oh, this is funny. We're knocking him out of the park.
I think that this is supposed to be like a action sleazy comedy.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, they knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
Deathstalker says,
Real kings live in castles like Munkar.
The king scowls and says that Munkar was his magician, and the castle was his. It will be again one day. He just needs someone to sneak in and kill Munkar. Deathstalker shakes his head and says,
You need a fool.
The king says, no, a hero. And the camera dollies in on Deathstalker's stupid and confused face as the heroic music kicks in. Deathstalker licks his fingers and says,
Heroes and fools are the same thing. He-man.
He-Man. The king pleads with Deathstalker as he gets on his horse to leave. He says they've taken his daughter to the castle. In olden times, there were great heroes, men who'd ride off to save a maiden with never a thought of their own lives. Deathstalker says,
Those days are gone. I steal and kill to stay alive, not for the luxury of glory.
He-Man. Hey everybody, Corey here. I just want to let you know that we'll be right back after these short messages.
Hey everybody, I'm Tim.
And I'm Dean.
And we're the hosts of Talking Back. We're a retro-based podcast covering movies, comics, video games, and more.
Check us out every Monday where we hit the rewind button and dig into some of our favorite content from the past. We like to keep things fun, lighthearted, and informative.
Do you feel like you need more nostalgia in your life? Then check out Talking Back. We're available everywhere podcasts are found.
And now, back to the show. Cut to Munkar's castle and we see Princess Codile, Barbie Benton, screaming as two guards carry her to the harem chamber. Since we'll be back here multiple times, I just want to let you know it's a big room with pillows everywhere, a pool in the middle, and a shit ton of naked chicks. Cordile tries to run away, but Munkar's right-hand man, Garget, knocks her out. By the way, I hate everything about Garget's mouth.
Yeah, me too.
He's one of those guys that are like, you can tell he's like in his mid-30s, but he has like an 80-year-old mouth.
Well, that's probably from all the crystal meth.
And the sucking of the... Never mind.
He-Man!
He-Man! Cut to Kang, Munkar's general, and two of his men on horseback dragging a guy who's been tied up behind them. They drag his body through the woods until he hits a tree and dies. Deathstalker sees this and draws his sword. Kang and his men ride up to a small hovel, and Kang says he wants the sword. An old witch walks out and tells him he cannot have it. She then transforms her walking stick into a giant snake that attacks Kang. And by the way, this lady, it's so funny because like her current IMDb picture for this witch, she still now looks younger than this witch is supposed to be. So you can tell that she's like in her 20s being made up to look like she's 60.
Yeah, she looks like Carol Kane in Princess Bride.
She totally fucking does. I was going to note that on the second time I watched it when I was doing the breakdown, but I forgot. But the first time I watched it, that's who I thought. I mean, I knew that it wasn't Carol Kane, but I was like, she looks just like fucking Carol Kane.
Have fun storming the castle. By the way, that movie's not as... that. You know what kills that movie? It's the score that Mark Knopfler from Dire Straits did.
Oh, okay.
It's so bad. I think the Princess Bride... This is going to ruffle feathers, I'm sure. Yeah, what? The score for Princess Bride is terrible. It's like... It's totally composed on a Casio keyboard. And then the song at the end is just... Ugh, not good. If they had a different score, Princess Bride would be at the top of one of my fantasy film lists of the 80s.
Okay, yeah. I mean, to be truthful with you, I've maybe only seen it about 4 or 5 times.
Next
Not
time
one
you
of my
watch
favorites.
Next time you watch it with Gray Bear, hey Gray Bear, you want to watch Predator or you want to watch Princess Bride? I want to watch Princess Bride. Yeah, good call.
Yeah. And I will be talking about my attempt at showing Gray Bear, my 9-year-old nephew, Predator. I will tell you how long we made it into the movie before he tapped out due to trauma and fear. And we'll talk about that on Wrap Up this month.
He-Man!
He-Man! So the stick turns into a giant snake, and, Kang is kind of fighting for his life. Deathstalker comes riding up and kills the other 2 soldiers. I love how he just swings his sword, and the director cuts to a shot of a severed head flying through the air.
Amazing. It's amazing. This happens a couple times in the movie.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love the fact that he just swings at nothing, and then someone literally tosses a fake severed head like a football through the air.
Yep.
It's great. And then someone says, "Hey, man." As Kang is lying on the ground fighting the snake, the witch says, "Your powers are nothing without the sword, Kang. Or is it Munkar?" Just then, Kang uses his amulet to change into a hawk and free himself from the snake. The witch tells Deathstalker to get the amulet, but he's too slow and lumbering, and Kang/Munkar/the hawk escapes with it. I love how she's like, get that amulet, and Deathstalker's like, this one, okay. There's like no urgency to it whatsoever.
I was gonna go get it, but I forgot where I was.
He's such a dum-dum, dude.
You know who's not a dum-dum is He-Man. He-Man.
He-Man.
Don't be a dum-dum. Or you could lose a finger or an eye, or get your head cut off in this movie.
and thrown like a football.
We'll see you next time.
Deathstalker asks what's so special about the amulet. The witch says, "It is one of 3 powers of creation. Munkar controls 2 powers. He came here as Kang to get the sword." Deathstalker leans down and picks up the snake, but it's now a stick again. The witch goes on, "Join 3 things separate to be the power, more powerful than Munkar." Deathstalker follows her back to her hovel and tells her to stop speaking in riddles. The witch Torvala, now we know her name. The witch Toralva, there you go.
You could tear your vulva.
The witch Vulva tells
He-Man.
He-Man tells him that he can use the sword to get the amulet from Munkar, who's invincible when he's wearing it. Then, with the sword and amulet, he can take the chalice and reunite the 3 powers of creation. Mulva uses her cauldron and shows Deathstalker Munkar's castle. He already has the amulet of life and the chalice of magic, which he is drinking from. All right, fine. Toralva says, "The power will come to he who becomes a child." And Deathstalker tells her that she's sending him into battle with nothing but riddles. She raises her voice and says, "Power is nothing if it is given to you. Go, reunite the 3 powers." Deathstalker asks what happens when they are together. The witch says, "You can do anything. You will be the power." Deathstalker gets on his horse and rides off into the woods as someone yells off in the distance, "He-Man!" So this is 83. When did the He-Man toy line actually come out? Because that's going to be before the cartoons. And I think they were 81 or 82, I believe.
Well, Masters of the Universe, the cartoon.
And I'm just bringing all of this up because I see a lot of He-Man vibes in this movie, aside from like the sleaze. So I'm wondering kind of what came first, the chicken or the egg scenario.
So the cartoon came out in 83. The toy line came out before the cartoon.
Right.
So I want to say 82. I don't know for certain. But, I mean, one thing I appreciate about Deathstalker is that he's wearing pants and not just a simple loincloth. Right. And that's kind of bad. That's badass. That makes more sense to me, You don't want to get ticks.
Yeah, honestly, the funny thing is, one of the things I didn't like about He-Man as a kid was his bare He-Man legs. But yeah, and that's another thing in wrestling too. I was like, if I was going to be a wrestler, I wouldn't want to be one of the guys wearing the little, booty thing. I would have actually wanted to be wearing pants or shorts, which is like why I like Stone Cold Steve Austin, because he literally just wore, blue jean shorts.
Yeah, jorts, but Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and Sting wore pants. So
yeah, exactly, and so
then
did RoboCop.
Yeah. And then the Spartacus, and that. No, I'm kidding.
So, Deathstalker He eventually comes to a creek and bends down to drink some water, but a reflection of Toralva appears and tells him his thirst should only be for finding the first power. I like how Deathstalker kind of like looks frustrated and says, you know what? He says he'll take his chances with the sword he already has. The witch cuts him off and tells him to look at the cave behind him. The sword of justice and its keeper, Salmeron, awaits inside. Deathstalker says,
"Why didn't you just say so?"
But he looks back and Toralva's reflection in the water is gone, when he looks back into the creek. And so, like, yeah, I at this point, you have to pick up on the comedy vibes.
Yeah, if Orko was here, he'd be like, "Oh, Orko. Orko means well."
Yeah, we're about to get our Orko of the movie.
Pretty much, yep.
And he's worse than Orko.
Yeah.
Cut to Deathstalker crawling into the cave. He makes a fire by breathing on some sticks, then comes across a little troll-looking motherfucker. It's actually Salmeron. Deathstalker says he was sent by Toralva. Toralva. I hate her fucking name. Mulva, to retrieve the sword, which he's been guarding. The little troll says he's been trapped there for years, eating insects and mice. And you come here looking for gifts? Deathstalker turns around and comes face to face with a hammer-wielding giant. They start fighting. Salmeron yells, "Catch!" and throws the sword to Deathstalker. It glows in his hands, and he says,
"By the power of Grayskull, I have the power!"
He-Man. He actually says the third power, but I like what you said better, so I'm going to keep that as canon. Maybe this is like an alternate reality, like Bizarro He-Man.
It is. I'm telling you, he's the asshole He-Man.
He is. He's the asshole He-Man. He then hits the giant in the stomach with the hilt of the sword, and the beast runs away. Deathstalker walks over to Salmeron, and the troll asks if he has anything to eat. Deathstalker sits next to him and admires the sword. The troll asks to go with the hero on his adventure. He was once a dashing and handsome warrior too before Munkar's curse turned him into a troll.
Well,
yeah. And well, that's actually a joke that's kind of the only joke that actually works with Salmeron in a little bit.
Yeah, true.
Salmeron says he can only be led out of the cave by a boy who is not a boy. The sword has the power to set him free. Salmeron touches the sword as Deathstalker is holding it, and our hero is now a boy. Deathboy stands up and leads the little troll out of the cave. Salmeron covers his face from the bright sun and stumbles out of the entrance and falls into the creek. Deathstalker, now a stupid man again, laughs when he sees Salmeron in his human form. He's a dumpy middle-aged man. Deathstalker chuckles when he says,
"Dashing and handsome, huh?"
Salmeron says, "In the eye of the beholder." Then the older man asks what our hero is going to do with the sword.
"Reunite the three powers, and I will be the power."
Heroic music kicks in as he holds up the weapon. This is where it kind of solidified. I was like, this is so very He-Man-esque.
Right, it's totally.
And because like I will be the power versus I have the power. Man, I don't know, dude. I suspect there's some sort of cross-pollination, or, this and He-Man were all inspired sort of by the same origin movies and heroic myths, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
But there's so many similarities between He-Man and Deathstalker. I'm like, it's too much to overlook,
He-Man's the goat.
He is. And dude, I love G.I. Joe, and I own a lot of cartoons that we've talked about on TV Obscura. I buy the DVD box sets, and I love them all differently. But as I get older, I do think that Masters of the Universe is the best out of all of them. It's the most timeless because like G.I. Joe's very of its time and everything, and so is kind of Transformers and stuff. But He-Man is so timeless, dude.
It is, and, there's something to be said about owning these things. I hope Deathstalker, by the way, comes out on Blu-ray eventually. But Bodhi's getting his first taste of, like, what it feels like to have things you love on streaming get pulled because Netflix is pulling a bunch of Pokemon cartoons, which is really surprising. I'm like, you're pulling Pokemon cartoons? But he's like, they're doing what? Like, he was so upset about it. You know, not like that upset, but he's like really upset with the fact that it's like, where are we going to watch it? I'm like, we have to order the DVDs, you know, because that's the only way you can get them, or the library.
No, I mean, my nephew's learning that as well. I kind of kicked off the whole physical media thing for him with Aliens and everything. And now his parents had to buy him Goonies because that's, honestly, he tells me Aliens is his favorite movie, but I watched Goonies with him and he literally quoted that entire thing. And I was like, no, Goonies is your favorite movie. And that's fucking okay. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's A-okay. But he had to own it because I don't think they could find it anywhere sort of reliably. And now he's starting, because his parents don't have any movies. They're all streaming people. But now he's starting to have his little collection of Blu-rays. But he also loves coming when he comes over here to look at my collection. He's talked to me about movies that like I didn't. He's like, he'll ask me something. I'm like, how the hell do you even know about? Oh, he's like, he looked at my cover. You know what I mean? He looked at my Blu-ray cover. Yeah. But he's starting to like. But that's what I want, man. I want him to be like a video store where he gets intrigued by these covers. You know, and it's like, oh, I want to see what that is.
Uncle Corey, what's Black Emmanuel?
I have my sleazy stack in here away from the main movies.
You should make like little shuttered doors.
I know. I would like to. I think that'd be actually really fucking cool. But yeah. Anyways, yeah. Masters of the Universe is the GOAT. He-Man is the GOAT. But I did want to ask, Zach, where did you watch this streaming?
YouTube.
Okay. So it's out there. It's free.
Yeah, there's a couple different versions on YouTube, and it's good quality.
Okay. Did it have subtitles? Because mine on the DVD did not.
Yeah, it did.
Nice. Okay, that would have been helpful. At one time I had to actually track down the script and find out what the person said. So
yeah.
Okay. Cut to Augis, Richard Booker, a.k.a. Jason Voorhees from Part 3, riding his horse on a trail through the woods. He leans over and grabs flowers off the ground without stopping. That was a cool stunt, by the way.
Yeah, he's cool.
We hear the witch issue a warning to Deathstalker via voiceover. Munkar will set many traps for you. Choose your allies well. Cut to a woman being accosted by bandits. I mean, it's rape number
2.
Two of like 6 to come.
Yeah.
A lot. 2 of a lot.
Yeah. Too many.
Yeah.
They don't need to do that. I mean, it's very exploitative, and it's just like, oof. This is the one. This is the problematic part. Everything else is fine.
Yeah. I mean, even the nudity is fine. I just have a problem with the rapiness.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I don't have a problem with the buttholes. I have a problem with the rape. Augis rides to her aid as she cries out, and he fights the bandits with his sword and his abs of steel. This dude has crazy fucking abs.
Chiseled. He looks like David, the statue.
Yeah, yes, he does.
From the belly button up.
Yeah, and he's wearing one of those like outfits where like his breasts, his like chest is covered, but like his midsection is exposed. I mean, talking about exploitative. I mean, I think the guys are just as much on display here as the women are.
Yeah, it's like Thunder from Down Under.
Yes, very much so. And they're all just as oily too.
Yep.
Unfortunately, there are too many enemies for him to take on, and they get the better of Augis. Just as one bandit is about to deliver the killing blow, Deathstalker comes riding in to save the day.
He-Man!
Augis says, I don't know who you are, but your timing is perfect, and he has a very thick accent.
He does. Yeah, what is it? Is like Scottish or...
I don't know, man. I couldn't pin it down. I mean, I don't know if it's Argentinian because it was filmed there. I have no idea. Then he gets to his feet and joins the fight. They eventually kill all the bandits and rescue the Maiden. We see some heads being lopped off and one guy getting disemboweled, but it's all kind of off camera. And this is when I kind of like realized, like, I can see why Steven Kostanski would want to remake this, because there are some cool kills. Like he stabs this one guy in the stomach and you can tell he's like disemboweling the guy, but they didn't have the money to sort of, probably do the effect. So it kind of happens off camera, but I still think it's effective because your mind just, puts in what's missing. But I can see why Steven Kostanski would want to remake this and make it gory.
Oh yeah, it's totally less is more. in this case.
But it won't be with Steven Kostanski's probably.
No, and then it's the opposite when it comes to nudity in this movie.
Right. Yeah, he'll probably have less nudity in it, but yeah, this movie is nothing but nudity.
Right.
Salmeron comes running up to join them after the fighting is over. He looks like a dumpy Elliot Gould.
Yeah, totally he does. Can anyone give me a pack of cigarettes and some scotch?
Oh, Monica and Ross, come on.
Oh, man.
Man.
Elliot Gould was such a tremendously awesome actor in the 70s. And
yeah, no, I know. That's why I want to show Myra The Long Goodbye, because I want her to see what Ross and Monica's dad was before Friends, because he was freaking awesome. Elliot Gould was the man.
Yeah, and some people were like, oh, is that the guy from Ocean's 11 who's all slubby and wears a robe? And you're like, no. Oh, no.
Yeah, no, he was awesome. He was absolutely awesome. Augis introduces himself to Deathstalker, and he says he owes him his life. I like how Deathstalker refers to himself as Stalker. We see Salmeron untie the Maiden, and she's reunited with her son. Augis says he was on his way to Munkar's castle. Deathstalker says if he knew he was in league with Munkar, he wouldn't have saved him. Augis says he owes no allegiance to Munkar. He's going to the castle to fight in a tournament. All the warriors in the land are en route. The prize is the winner will be made Munkar's heir. Deathstalker says that doesn't seem to be much of a prize, inheriting everything from a sorcerer that never dies. Augis says no one's time lasts forever. He and Deathstalker get on their horses and ride to the tournament.
I love movies with tournaments. Enter the Dragon, Jim Kata. Bloodsport. I love
Mortal
movies
Kombat.
Sure.
I'm bending over out of the camera frame to get another beer, and Zach says sure, and I just flick him off in the camera.
I hate Mortal Kombat.
I hate you. No, I don't. I love you. I love you.
I love you too.
Mortal Kombat. I love Mortal Kombat so much.
Mortal Kombat. Y'all ready for this? I love tournament type. I love movies that center around some sort of gameplay, because then it becomes a game. Like, you can make it a game. It's how we play with our toys. There's some sort of focus. I love that.
This movie does the thing that I loved in Bloodsport, where you see the monkey fighter fighting the sumo guy, and it kind of goes back to what MMA was at the very beginning, when you would actually see just a normal trained boxer fighting like a wrestler or a sumo person. And obviously all the fights ended up on the ground. And then over time, it's evolved into its own fighting style where everyone learns a little bit of grappling, a little bit of something else, yada, yada, yada. But I like the stuff like this in Bloodsport, where it's just a hardcore, two different fighting styles and which one's going to win. Yeah,
in this case, you're referring to one of the guards from Return of the Jedi as one of the, because that pig face guy looks like a guard from Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, he looks like a Gamorrean guard. Yeah, I love those dudes. Cut to Deathstalker, Salmeron, and Augis sitting around a campfire eating. Augis asks to see Stalker's sword with his hand outreached and a cheesy smile on his face. Just then, a rustling in the woods causes the men to stand at the ready. They split up and track down the noise. And by the way, watching a second time, I can see they do layer in the Augis heel turn throughout the film. I mean, they have the witch warning, with a voiceover warning Deathstalker to watch out, for potential traps, as we're seeing Augis for the first time. And then him sort of wanting to hold on to that sword. He knows what that sword is,
Yeah. Hold on. Oof. Oh, great.
What?
This is a big ass spider that I went to go kill, but then it jumped down. Ooh.
It's coming for you.
Yeah.
You'll make the same noise that I made when your bearded dragon landed on my leg.
Oh, maybe that's what was in my belly button.
Probably. Laying eggs.
Spider eggs, yeah.
Yeah. They're going to erupt out of there soon.
Yep.
Yep. Zach's not sleeping tonight.
Nope. I know they're it's obvious the way they're planting the seeds, but I kind of like the way the heel turn comes when it does come, because there's potential there. I'm still like, oh, maybe he won't turn. He does, but
Yeah. And then snap. But we'll get there. So they they split up to track down the noise. Augis tells the person sulking about to come out and fight them like a man. As he does, a sword comes out of the darkness and presses against his neck. We see a cloaked figure with a beard holding the sword. But just then, Deathstalker appears behind the mysterious figure and says,
kill him and you'll die before his eyes are closed. He-Man!
The hooded figure moves back and Augis starts fighting them. As their swords clash, Salmeron says he had a dream that they would meet two men on the road. He didn't think anything of it until now. Augis gets the upper hand and knocks the attacker's cloak open to reveal blonde hair and big boobs. The woman removes her mask and fake beard as Deathstalker ogles her and says to Salmeron, "Two men, huh?" The old man replies, "Dreams are not what they used to be."
Two something.
Yeah.
That's why I thought they were going for that. I'm like, two.
Yeah, you know what? That might have been a joke that just didn't land.
Probably.
Yeah, I can see that. I can fucking see that. And by the way, her outfit, she's wearing a cloak, her breasts are exposed, and she's wearing like a loincloth thing. And I'm like, I'm thinking like, yeah, I'm like, it's hot and everything. I'm like, ah. And then I'm like thinking like, well, still, she technically has more fucking clothes on her than Mark Singer did in Beastmaster. And how come like that's okay for Mark Singer to literally be wearing like a tiny loincloth, and yet she, like, we're expecting her to completely cover herself up. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I mean,
I love it, but it's double standards.
It's double standards. Also cultural in our country.
Yeah.
We have no problem showing a shit ton of violence, but the minute you show someone naked, it's like, oh no, we can't do that because guns are okay, but boobs are not.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, when you compare her to, she's wearing just as much as Deathstalker and Augis are.
Right. I mean,
Zach's like, I'm not complaining. Are you yelling at me?
No. Where the hell's the records room?
He-Man.
There she is. There they are.
Oh, so Kira looks at the men and says, "I may be a woman, but my sword has cut down greater men than you." Augis says, "And I've dealt with better women with a different sword." Boom. Oh, Augis.
My power sword.
The day I raised aloft my magical
sword and said,
Augis!
Augis, I have the power!
Deathstalker gets between the two and tells them to save it for the tournament. Kira introduces herself and says she's on her way to Munkar's castle alone. Deathstalker invites her to ride with them to the tournament. Kira says she'll stay with them until the contest begins, then she'll stand by no one. Augis says he hopes they clash swords in the tournament. As Kira sits by the fire, she and Deathstalker share glances at each other.
Yeah, they do.
Back at Munkar's castle in the harem pit, we see Princess Codile waking up surrounded by, a lot of women, like 20 plus women.
There's that scene where, what's her face from Dale Arden or whatever, from Flash Gordon, it's like...
Right. Now, I did note, and I don't know if you noticed it, she seems to have a small puncture wound on her neck, but nothing, we never saw that, like, what that was from, and it never sort of comes into play. I wonder if it was a cut scene or something.
Or she burned herself with a curling iron.
And they just have to put it into the movie.
Right.
The rest of the women wake up and stand at attention when guards open the door and a woman bringing food walks in. Everyone grabs something to eat except for Codile. There's nothing left in the basket. The princess gets frustrated and yells, "Where's mine?" But no one replies. She snatches a giant turkey leg from one of the girls and defiantly eats it.
Yeah, whoa. So tough. She's kind of a downer.
I don't, love her character. I liked Kira a lot more than her.
Yeah, she's a bring down.
Yeah. Now, this is really dark, and I wish that, we dove a little bit deeper into, but this is super dark. So, cut to Munkar's lair deeper in the castle. He has a young boy chained up by his desk. The boy's eyeball has been ripped out, and Munkar is feeding it to his pet monster that he keeps in a small chest, and apparently its name is Howard.
I mean, he's clearly like a pedophile and has this little man-child. Like, he's Alfred Molina's character in Boogie Nights, who's like, he's Chinese. You know, the guy who throws firecrackers or whatever. Like, he's that character. Yeah.
If he was an evil magician and had to, like, sacrifice parts of the kid's body to like this little pet monster.
It's so gross. It's so vile. You're just like, oh, he's probably the guy's like little boy toy too.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Oh, for sure.
Gross. He reminds me of Robert Balzer, by the way. I'm like, oh, it's my boss from Video Man. Oh.
Was he bald too and had a goatee?
Yeah. I think he wasn't totally bald, but he definitely had a goatee.
Okay.
That's just never like that big old flavor saver goatee. Just and reeked of nicotine, you know?
Yeah. No. Either have a beard or, shave it off and just have a mustache or something. I'm not a goatee fan, man.
With his Mike Tyson tattoo on his face.
Yeah, Munkar's got this giant tattoo of something on. I could never figure out what it was. Like, it's not a spider, although it has like tentacles coming out of it. I couldn't figure out what the fuck it was.
It goes all the way down to my belly button. Oh, no thanks. Do you want to see my mermaid? No, I don't.
No, not at all, Belzer.
Want to watch Jeepers Creepers with me in the back of my van? No, that's okay.
Oh God. Garget in his weak mouth.
I just garket in my weak mouth.
I know. Walks in and tells Munkar that Deathstalker is camped outside the city. Cut back to Deathstalker getting it on with Kira by the fire while the pervert Salmeron watches.
He's clearly pleasuring himself.
Yeah. It's like a 3-minute scene that I reduced to 1 sentence.
Yeah, because I'm trying to forget about it.
Cut to the next day, and the city outside of Munkar's castle is full of people. We see Garget grab a woman who's trying to run away and take her to be one of Munkar's harem.
I garketed when I saw that earlier scene too.
By the way, this woman, she's kind of become Augus's like main squeeze, and she gets like a lot of screen time, but doesn't really have an arc or anything.
Yeah, I'm like, why? Why her?
Right.
No offense. No offense.
She has that frizzy hair and everything.
I know. I'm like, not a huge fan. Doesn't do it for me.
Now, it's interesting. We're going to probably, right now, we're going into the longest scene, like the longest singular scene in the entire movie is this, like, revelry, this celebration right before the tournament. Inside the castle, all the combatants are gathered in a giant great hall with Munkar's throne in the middle. There are guards everywhere as well as Munkar's harem. There is even a mud wrestling ring in the middle. It's quite the display of TNA as the warriors have their way with the women. I mean, it is a who's who of 80s fake boob jobs and thongs and it's guys and gals. It's Sleazy C's dream come true.
He-Man!
Thank you, Crystal. Crystal!
Meanwhile, she's sitting back going, you're welcome.
Excellent.
Yes, it will all be mine.
We see a couple interesting fighters in the mix. A giant with a pig head, which you were talking about earlier, kind of gives you Gamerian Guard vibes. I think the makeup effect on his head, like the prosthetic head, like the fake head, looks really fucking good, like better than it ever should for this movie.
Yeah, it's amazing what you can do with a pig mask and some Vaseline.
Yeah, dripping. Well, I mean, just like the Gamorrean guards, they had the Vaseline dripping from their mouth as well, too.
I'm being totally serious, yeah, and it looks just like that, too. When didn't Jedi come out in 83?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, 83, 82, something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because wasn't 81 was Empire, so yeah, 83 or 84 was Jedi, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah. A little wiry guy with a hook for a hand. I love this dude.
Oh yeah, this guy's great.
I love the mouth expressions that he makes and everything when he's squaring off against people. You gotta see it to believe it. And of course, Deathstalker and team are there. But I mean, like, again, this set is great. It's a great set. But dude, there's also like, I don't know, man, like 25, 30 people filling it. Like if it doesn't feel like empty, it feels like a packed set. And then later at the tournament, like there's like 100 extras. Like this is amazing. This is like, this world feels full. Like it doesn't feel like empty. Like a lot of times Beastmaster did. Like the locations were big, but they didn't have as many extras to kind of fill it, you know?
Yeah, keep the set small and fill it with as many people as you can. And side note, it probably smelled like garbage in there. Disgusting, all the body heat and BO stink.
Oh, and like just from like behind the scenes, like in reality, the lighting and everything, you know, like because those things are all hot. But if it's in the world here, I mean, it stinks both ways. In the world of Deathstalker and in our world of making this movie, I guarantee you this set stinks.
Yeah, totally.
And it also doesn't hurt that, you know, all the guys in this scene are like, you know, twice the size of you and me. Like they're all beefy dudes.
Yeah, beefy dudes with loincloths
and a lot of hair.
Yes. Ugh, He-Man.
I'm so glad He-Man doesn't have body hair everywhere.
I know, right? Well, that makes sense because on Eternia we laser everything off.
I would hope so.
Except for my mustache and my enormous afro that I wear underneath my helmet.
I've seen that picture of him without his helmet on.
We'll see you next time.
That artist is great.
Yeah.
Kira enters the room and moves one of the ladies sitting next to Deathstalker so she can be by him. We see Munkar sizing up Deathstalker from the shadows. A quiet falls over the crowd as the Sorcerer King addresses them. I bid you welcome to my kingdom. I have ruled longer than most of you have lived. Now I'm old. My time is near. But only the strongest will take my place. We shall see in the battles of the next 2 days who will claim my kingdom, and whether good or evil will rule. One of the goons yells, Evil! And Munkar replies, So I expect. I love that. I love that guy just yelling, Evil!
Yeah, me too. It's great.
The king sits back in his throne and says, But the tests begin tomorrow. Tonight, you're my guests, and all that I have is yours to share. Food, drink, women, and in honor of this occasion, the first appearance of my newest bride. We see Princess Codile brought out in a see-through sheer dress by 2 guards and chained to the front of Munkar's throne.
Yep.
Kira is about to get up and bash heads, but Deathstalker stops her. Munkar says, and this is what I had to fucking track down the dialogue script for to find out what he says, but he says, who will stand for the court in this most pleasant bout? I don't even understand what that dialogue means, but basically he's like, who's going to fight for the chance to rapey time this, my newest bride?
Who will fight for my newest bride? Will it be Deathstalker or Kira? Yeah. Pigface is killing this little hook man, and he's gonna fight for Barbie Benton.
Good one.
Thanks. I tried. He-Man.
He-Man. Deathstalker. Crystal.
She's like, guys, that's
just back to the movie. All the warriors start yelling me, but then the Gamorrean guard beast comes forward and everyone shuts up. Munkar says, yes, you are perfect. Munkar's quite the cuck, isn't he?
Is that what we call it?
Yes, it is. It is. The Gamorrean guard walks over to Codile and starts grabbing on her until another warrior stands up to the pigman for the honor of molesting the princess. They start fighting, and then everyone starts fighting except for Deathstalker, who sits there looking bored. Kira makes her way to the princess and knocks out a barbarian warrior after he tears the princess's sheer robe off. Kira gets grabbed from behind as she tries to unchain the princess. This causes Deathstalker to stand up and fight his way through the crowd, but not to Kira's aid. She takes care of herself just fine. No, Stalker uses his sword to cut Codille's chains. He picks the princess up and tries to carry her out of the hall, but is blocked by Munkar's guards. The sorcerer walks up to Deathstalker and asks if he was planning on taking the princess with him.
For the night, anyway.
Munkar says he will have her sent to Deathstalker's chamber when all the excitement is over. On that note, everyone goes back to fighting and fucking. Augis even swings in and saves one of the girls. It's the one that we saw earlier, the last scene. There's even a funny moment where the pig man hurts his hand by beating on a meathead, so he rips off the arm of a passerby and uses that instead.
That's total Kostansky. I'm like, oh, that is major Psycho Gorman vibes.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, we keep mentioning Return of the Jedi. Like, this also gave me, like, Jabba's palace vibes, but it felt, like, scarier and darker than Jabba's palace, you know?
Yeah, grimier, dirtier, curly hairs everywhere.
Oh, abso-fucking-lutely. That set is covered in curly pubic hairs everywhere.
Or as Marcel the Shell would say, hardy hairs. Have you shown Gray Bear Marcel the Shell?
No.
Oh, you should. It's cute, man.
No.
Watch that with your mom sometime.
No. I just ordered Furiosa on 4K. I'll show that to my mom.
Okay, fine. No, everyone listening is like, oh, Marcel the Shell. Yeah, no. Well, in our house, we watch Marcel the Shell.
Well, buddy, I've now been, relegated back after trying to show Gray Bear Predator. So I've been relegated to the dumpsters. And now Myra has to pick all the movies we watch because I traumatized my nephews.
Yeah,
so.
Fair. You want to show him Back to the Future? So maybe
Marcel the snail will show up. She wants to show him Indian in the Cupboard.
Oh, yeah. That's okay. It's okay.
I've never seen it.
It's cute. It's cute. Yeah. Have you shown him Back to the Future yet?
No, but my sister-in-law showed him Karate Kid. She showed him all the Karate Kids. He was like, it was okay. I was actually thinking Back to the Future would be a good one. Myra wants to show him Temple of Doom, but he didn't really like Raiders of the Lost Ark, but I think he didn't like it because he didn't understand who the villains were. Maybe Temple of Doom will be a little bit more, but I told Myra, I was like, but then there's a guy gets his fucking heart ripped out. Like,
I mean, Bodhi liked Temple of Doom more, but he actually liked Crystal Skulls the most. I think that is the most accessible for like little kids. Part 3 is way too boring for little kids.
Yeah, I wasn't going to show him 3.
So boring. No, I'd show him Back to the Future. Show him Cloak and Dagger. Well, Cloak and Dagger is pretty violent, but never-ending story, and
Yeah. No, I know. Yeah, I've already shown him stuff. I'd like to show Masters of the Universe. You and I both have the Umbrella Blu-ray for that, so I'd like to show him that one day. But I have to crawl my way back up out of the pit that I fucking put myself in.
Have you shown him Transformers the movie yet?
I did. I showed him that way early on, and this was like years ago, and having no idea who's who, he was just like, I don't understand what's happening. I don't know who's a good guy, who's a bad guy. If you just go into Transformers the movie with no background whatsoever, I was like, okay, I can see that, buddy. But he actually had a good time with it. I think it was just like, he was like, I don't know what any of this is.
G.I. Joe the movie?
No, I haven't shown him that yet. No.
Yeah, watch that. Come on.
Yeah. And maybe I'll show him some He-Man cartoon stuff.
Secret of the Sword. Show him Secret of the Sword, too.
Yeah. No, it's a bunch of movies, man. If we'd be catching up a lot if I didn't have to go back to Maryland for 3 months. And miss the entire October because we were starting a tradition last year where we were watching a new Universal monster movie every October because I got the 4Ks, and he picked The Invisible Man, and he fucking loved it. This is a movie from it's like a 90-year-old movie.
Yeah, Bodhi loved Wolfman.
He loved it.
Wolfman.
Yeah. I would like to show him Wolfman. I would like to show him personally Creature from the Black Lagoon's my favorite. I would like to show him that. But again, I'm going to be in Maryland for 3 months. So.
He-Man.
Cut to Munkar's lair, and we see the one-eyed kid is now missing his fingers. They were on a plate.
This poor kid.
Oh my God, they're on, and he kind of gets no comeuppance. Like he doesn't like ever get freed or anything like that.
No, he is the hostile of this movie.
Yes, and it is pretty gross, to be honest with you.
It's really gross, yeah. Thanks a lot, Crystal.
Crystal.
Yes. Wait, did someone say Beastman? No one said Beastman, you flea-bitten fool. You water-bound weirdo. Skeletor to King Randor. Come in, you royal boob.
Hey everybody, Corey here. I just want to let you know that we'll be right back after these short messages.
Have you been wondering where's the beef? Well, on our podcast, Throwback Trivia Takedown, you might just find that out, as well as some other things about the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
We're a nostalgic-based trivia show that pits two challengers head-to-head in a duel of the decades, with categories ranging from movies, TV, and music, to slang, food, and fashion. You're sure to get the best in retro-themed trivia.
So strap on your jelly shoes, grab a surge, and walk like an Egyptian to your favorite podcast app and check out Throwback Trivia Takedown.
I heard even Mikey likes it.
In a world that has been completely divided for so long, two movie fans have decided to unite for the people and the betterment of mankind. One, an action movie buff. The other, a horror movie fanatic. Together, they will try to bridge the gap of both genres into one podcast with their battle cry, "Give me back my action and horror movies." Listen along as Charlie and Nate alternate each week talking about action and horror movies they cherish, mostly from the VHS era. Also, including some modern examples that felt like the movies they grew up with by answering the battle cry, "Give me back my action and horror movies." Available wherever you listen to podcasts. Look them up on Facebook and Instagram.
And now, back to the show. So the kid's fingers are sitting on a plate next to the tiny chest. And, Monkar feeds them to his pet monster, who this is where we kind of find out his name's Howard. Because Gargit comes in. He's like, "Oh, Howard." So anyways, Gargit comes in and tells Munkar that Deathstalker is alone in his room. He hopes that Stalker doesn't win and become the heir to the throne. Munkar scoffs and says there will be no heir. Gargit pieces it together, what's happening, and says, "You're going to kill the winner." Munkar says, "Yes, and you will kill Deathstalker tonight." Gargit says he will take 10 of his best men. Munkar shakes his head and says that Gargit will go alone with this and pulls out a knife. The sorcerer says that someone he won't suspect must kill him. Gargit asks, "He won't suspect me?" Munkar smiles and says he won't suspect Princess Cordine. Cordite.
Cordon bleu.
Cordon bleu. Munkar makes a hand gesture and slowly turns Gargit into Princess Cordile. It's a very weird scene, especially when Gargit grabs his crotch and screams, "It's gone!" Also, there's like this juxtaposition of like the Gargit actor's face looking down on Barbie Benton's body, and it's gross because he's kind of like got that weird guy mouth and everything. And
guy mouth.
I hate him. Once the transformation is complete, I call her Faker Cordile.
She is fake or.
Yeah, she's fake or. She takes the knife from Munkar. The Sorcerer King says that Gargit must do it when Deathstalker doesn't have the sword in his hand. And she kind of like walks away, and of course she's half naked, but it's really Gargit. And I like how Munkar's like staring at her, and Gargit's kind of like looking over his shoulder, and I'm like, I would actually like there to be some kind of like internal dialogue where maybe Gargit finally like understands what it's like to be a woman and to be ogled. You know what I mean? Like, I wish he had some sort of like like he turned a leaf before he dies. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, did you ever see that movie Switch with Jimmy Smits and what's her name, Ellen Barkin?
Ellen Barkin. I watched that at a weird age. I think
too.
I was like 12 or 13 when I watched it, but I actually really fucking liked it for some reason.
I remember it being like Perry King gets killed and he comes back as a woman. And
right. Yep. Yeah, and his best friend was Jimmy Smits, right?
Yeah, and then they fall in love with each other.
Yeah.
And everybody, I remember at the time people were like, "Oh God!" Andrew Dice Clay would have a field day with it.
Of course, but yeah, no. To answer your question, yes, and I know that this is not the right movie for it, but I kind of wish they examined some of those themes with Gargant here. You know, especially when it gets kind of like he almost gets raped by a Deathstalker. He's a guy, so
practically does.
I know, it's really. I don't know, man. I hope Steven Kostanski keeps all that in, but then also kind of allows Gargant to have this understanding maybe from being a woman, you know? And like maybe I should treat the fairer sex a little bit better, you know?
Skeletor to Gargant. Come in, you royal boob. I have 2 royal boobs. I'm not talking about those, you fool.
Cut to Faker Cordeal entering Deathstalker's room. He's awake, so she hides the knife behind her back. He pours a drink and tells her they have plenty of time before the guards go to sleep. Deathstalker starts kissing on Faker Cordeal's neck, but she says the steel of his sword is cold. He turns around to take off his sword and belt, and when he does, the assassin attacks. Deathstalker catches Faker Cordeal's wrist and throws her on the bed. He gets on top of her and smacks the knife out of her hand. Then he asks who she is. Faker says she is Princess Cordeal. Deathstalker holds Faker down and then starts rubbing her legs when he's on top of her. He then starts kissing her while she's trying to kick him off. It's extremely rapey, but I imagine the filmmakers thought it was fine because technically it's Gargant and not, Barbie Benton.
Yeah, look, guys, we could do whatever the fuck we want because this isn't a real woman. This is a dude.
This is a fucking dude.
With a tree trunk between his legs, right? No one's gonna film goers are smart. This isn't rape. This is a fantasy. Like a wicked, weird fan. It's okay. So we can do whatever the hell we want with her. It's okay. What did you say? Coming up.
Yeah, no, nothing, Barbie. Nothing.
Don't worry, Barbie.
I kind of picture that's kind of the discussion that happens because also too, Deathstalker so Deathstalker eventually stops attempting to rape Faker when like sort of a male voice comes out of Barbie Benton's mouth. And he kind of asks,
"Who? What the hell are you?"
So up until that realization, what did he just think that Princess Cordeal was like trying to kick him off? Like he's, you know what I mean? Like what is he thinking? Like he's like, I'm gonna rescue you, but we have some time before the guards fall asleep. So let's hook up. But yet you're trying to kick me off of you. But that's okay. You're the princess. But like he only stops when he finds out that it's maybe something else. Like what is the movie trying to say?
He's pulling an Ajax from the Warriors. He's like, I like it rough, and you're like, whoa, no.
Yeah.
But I'm a barbarian. This is what barbarians do. In my world, this isn't what barbarians do. When I become He-Man would never do something like this.
That's why this guy's asshole He-Man.
That's why he is asshole He-Man. That is right, Sleazy C.
He's anti-He-Man. That character, the black with the red hair and everything, but black skin.
He is anti-He-Man. He's not even on Skeletor's level. That's right. I would never do such a thing. Right, Evelyn? That's right, Skeletor.
I actually believe it. I actually believe Skeletor would not do any of these things.
He has morals. He likes Manchine puppies.
Yeah, I imagine that Skeletor would be completely disgusted with the actions of Deathstalker.
Right? I am not nice. I am not a good person, but
I don't like to be good.
I don't like to be nice. But I would not do this to you, He-Man, or anyone else.
He wouldn't. I totally buy that he would not.
Yep.
Deathstalker gets off of Faker, then tells her to get out of his room. She runs out and then closes the door behind her and sort of locks it from the outside. I was like, well, that's weird. That's also a fire hazard for Deathstalker, too.
Right.
Like, I mean, if that's the case, you could just lock him in the room. Then you should, if you wanted to get rid of Deathstalker, just lock the door from the outside and then burn the room.
Well, that would imply that the people who wrote this are smart.
True. As Faker Cordeal is looking at Deathstalker's door, a robed figure startles her from behind. It's Kira. She wants to sneak Princess Cordeal out of the castle. As they are walking down the hall, Faker Cordeal transforms back into Garget. He grabs Kira by the throat, but she knees him in the dick and draws her sword. Garget draws his, and they fight in the hall. During the fight, Garget thrusts his sword and seems to slice Kira's stomach. She recovers and eventually disarms and kills Garget. After he falls over dead, Kira starts walking away holding her side. She calls out for Deathstalker. He grabs her as she collapses, then dies in his arms.
Well, I just died in your arms tonight. Must have been Garget.
Yes! Good one, buddy. That is the highlight of the episode.
Woo! He-Man!
Crystal! This sucks, man. Kira was awesome.
Yeah, she was one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, hands down, me too.
I was like, man, that sucks.
And it was such like a little nothing slice, too.
I know. Well, that's what you get for
having your big old titties out.
I guess.
Zach's like, fuck me.
She had a leather outfit on. She would have been fine. She had like chainmail or something.
Right? She would have been okay.
Yep.
She
had to be naked.
She had to be naked, but Sleazy C was happy about that for however long she was on screen. Cut to the next day. We see everyone gathered in the city outside the castle. Munkar is sitting on his throne surrounded by his wives and the real Princess Cordeal. He announces the beginning of the tournament, and the gates of the city open, and Munkar's soldiers lead the warriors in. And this is what I noticed, man. Like, so the set doesn't look the best. Like, it kind of, some parts of the set, like the walls, look like, you know, styrofoam painted and everything.
Yeah. Oh, it gets worse when Deathstalker has his fight with, what's-his-face in the bedroom.
Yes. But at the same time, it's passable. But it's the fact that they fill the crowd. Like, again, there's like 100 extras here. Like, this is an impressive amount of people that actually makes up for some of the shortcomings of the set design.
Yeah, agreed.
Now we see a montage of a bunch of the lesser warriors clashing. The most amusing is the little guy with the hook for a hand. He eventually dies, though. He's essentially turned into mush. I love one of the fighters sort of smiles at a maiden in the crowd. She smiles back, but then he gets killed. And I love, like, you see her expression change from, like, smiling to frowning as it happens. I thought that was very funny.
That was funny.
Now things get interesting as it's Augis' time to fight. He kisses the maiden he's been with since, like, the previous day's festivities and squares off against his opponent. They fight, but Augis eventually wins, as expected. His lady friend runs up to him and gives him a kiss as Deathstalker watches.
Oh.
Cut to Munkar's cat. Well, so, I mean, I kind of went through that scene, but, like, overall, like, this is the tournament here. Like, what are your thoughts? Like, I mean, it's mostly just a lot of different fighting and stuff, but I thought it was done well.
Yeah, it's good. There's not much to say about it. It's passable. It's not bad.
Yeah. And there's some like, slight disemboweling and stuff. You know, there's some little bit of violence and stuff.
Yeah, it's entertaining. It's short. I mean, it doesn't get dragged on.
Like this movie itself. I mean, at this point, we're way past the runtime of the movie itself.
Right? He-Man.
Crystal. Cut to Munkar's castle at night, and we see Deathstalker stalking the halls with a sword drawn. Cut to Augis being dragged through the castle by two guards while Salmeron watches from the shadows. As he approaches the door Augis was taken through, a guard comes out and startles Salmeron. The guard gives chase as the little spy runs through the castle and eventually crawls up a window and goes through. Salmeron falls all the way down to the harem chamber and lands in the pool in the middle of the room. All the wives wake up and rush to the pool. They laugh at the waterlogged Salmeron. By the way, guys, anytime you see all the harem and the wives, you see at least 30 different butt cheeks. It's quite amazing. Cut to a torture chamber, and Augis is strapped to a giant wheel. Munkar enters the room and jokingly asks if Augis is comfortable. The warrior says he is not, and this is no way to treat the man that brought Munkar Deathstalker. The sorcerer motions to the giant wheel, and it turns, allowing Augis to free himself. Munkar says that he wants Deathstalker dead, but he can't be killed as long as he's holding the sword. Augis says he'll get the sword away from Deathstalker. After all, he is his friend.
It's just kind of a cool plot point, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Cut to Augis entering Deathstalker's room and closing the door. Our hero is holding onto his sword. Augis tells him that Munkar plans to kill him tonight. He tells Deathstalker to forget the tournament and flee. Deathstalker puts his sword down next to his bed. Augis goes for it, and Stalker kicks him down. The two men destroy the room as they wrestle and fight for the sword. At one point, Augis could have grabbed the sword, but he chooses to keep fighting Deathstalker with his bare hands. Augis' lady friend hears the commotion and walks into the room. She watches as Deathstalker puts her man in a headlock and breaks his neck. Deathstalker grabs his sword and heroic music plays.
He-Man.
Like, there's so many things here. Like, first off, talk about the fight, Zach, and how easily the room is destroyed.
I mean, the styrofoam gets knocked over, the walls get knocked in, and the bedposts and whatnot, the canopy bed just get knocked. Like, the sound is hilarious because they don't even cover it up. It sounds like styrofoam being broken in half. It's really funny. It's shockingly, like, cheap in this scene, which makes it even more entertaining.
And then on top of it, you know, Deathstalker has to like kill quote unquote his friend as his friend's girlfriend is watching. And it's not like he stabs him sort of like by accident or like, oh no, you know, he didn't mean to. He puts him in a stranglehold and breaks his neck. And then the heroic music plays as if this guy is supposed to be the hero.
I believe in the rule book of most humane ways to kill a friend, snapping a friend's neck is the best way to do that. I think
that's how you would kill me, huh?
Yeah, I think in the book of humanity of like doing the most humane kill, I believe snapping someone's neck next to ripping someone's spine out and skull. So I think that's the easiest, like most sweetest way to kill your friend.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right about that. Good call.
When he does that, I'm like, okay. And then they close in on the, random chick from San Jose, like looking shocked, and you're just like, okay.
Yeah. And then that's also like the end of her arc. And so I guess she was, she was only in it because she was Augus's, main squeeze for this day or two.
She was Oddgrass's lady, and now no longer.
But yes. Also too, it's like, I would like to see her now hating Deathstalker, like wanting to kill Deathstalker because, she doesn't know what's going on. She just knows that Deathstalker killed her dude.
Right. Yeah. Come on. Little follow-up there. Little follow-up, please. Just a little bit.
Who knows? Maybe she's in Deathstalker 2. I don't know. I haven't seen it yet. Cut to the next day, and it's round 2 of the tournament. Deathstalker walks through the crowd, and everyone cheers as he faces off against the Pigman. They clash swords until the Pigman is disarmed and has to grapple with Deathstalker. The Beast gets our hero in a bear hug, and it looks like he's going to squeeze the life out of him, but Deathstalker grabs the Pigman by the head and flips him onto the ground. The fight ends when the Pigman rushes Deathstalker as he's picking up his sword and sinks it into his opponent's chest. The crowd erupts with excitement. Guards have to hold them back as Munkar looks at his would-be heir with disdain. So again, another fight that I kind of just went over quickly, but, in the movie, it's a pretty decent fight. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, it's better than Beastmaster.
Every aspect of this movie is better than Beastmaster.
So many people right now driving off the side of the road. What? Don't you disparage Mark Singer?
And if this is the first time you're sort of listening to us, if you found us through Deathstalker, and you want to go and you're trying to frantically find our Beastmaster review, it's actually a Patreon exclusive episode. We have a series called we have a tier called Auteur de Force, where we go through an auteur's filmography from beginning to end. We did it with John Carpenter. It took us about two years and a couple months to go through his entire filmography, and now we are on to Don Coscarelli. So, and we go in order that these movies came out. So by the time you listen to this, our Survival Quest episode will be out. But so you can go and listen to Beastmaster, and if you sign up for that tier, you have the entire catalog of John Carpenter as well to go through. But yeah, that's where our Beastmaster review lives.
I mean, look, Beastmaster is a favorite of many people, and that's all good. Like, we all have something that we love that other people don't. Just listen to it, and you'll get our take on it. I think we're pretty balanced and fair, all things considered, just like we are with this one. I mean, this one so far has been balls to the wall entertaining. And when we say balls to the wall, we really mean that, because you see enough.
Dude, during the festivities the night before the tournament, the guy with the hook hand kind of at one point falls with his legs open towards the camera, I swear to fucking God, you can almost see his testicles and his anus.
Well, I wasn't looking that closely, but then again, I wasn't breaking it down quite as extensively as you have. He-Man! Man at Arms, you broke it down? You watched this movie? Of course I did. I lived it. There's when Orko... Yeah, sorry.
Man at Arms... who would he? Yeah, I guess he'd be Augis, right? Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, but fortunately, I'm not.
Exactly. Cut to Munkar's castle later that night, and we hear a voiceover of the witch Taralva telling Deathstalker to become the power. We see our hero walking through the halls with his sword drawn. Cut to Munkar in his lair. He uses the amulet and chalice to transform into Kang. He tells his soldiers...
The Conqueror.
Kang the Conqueror, yes. He tells his soldiers to search for Deathstalker and kill him. Cut to the harem chamber, and 6 guards enter and start searching the place, pushing women aside as they do. We get a couple of shots showing us that a lot of the wives have armed themselves with knives and daggers. We see that Salmeron is hiding under pillows. He pops out just as the women start fighting back and stabbing the guards. One blonde maiden sneaks out the door during the commotion. She comes back with a barbarian warrior who's more than happy to fuck up some of Munkar's guards. Even Salmeron gets in a couple of kills. I like that. I like how she goes and gets some random warrior and he's like, I'm here, baby.
Yeah, I'm ready to party. And then I love Salmeron. He like gently stabs people and they're dead.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Simple
Jack.
Yes.
I love that movie. Cut to a shot of Kang walking into a room and smiling as he touches the amulet to his chest.
Kang sold.
Cut to Deathstalker entering the same room and seeing the amulet hanging from the ceiling. Clearly it's a trap. As Deathstalker reaches for the amulet, Kang creeps up behind him while holding a huge battle axe and kicks the sword out of Stalker's hand. He then swings the axe, but our hero dodges it with ease. Kang drops the axe and pulls out a sword, which Deathstalker catches mid-swing. The two men wrestle over the weapon, but Deathstalker is too strong. He rips the sword out of Kang's hand, then stabs him in the stomach with it. Kang falls to the ground, and Deathstalker reaches out for his magical sword as the evil sorcerer pulls his own blade out of his stomach. Heroic music kicks in as the magical sword flies through the air and into Deathstalker's hand. The Force, baby! He's got the Force!
Yeah, I mean, it's He-Man and Star Wars put together.
Yeah, because, I mean, even He-Man doesn't have magical powers like that.
Magical powers don't do that. That is right. I can't do that with my sword.
I cannot use my magical powers to hold aloft my magical sword.
He-Man, you can do what you need to do with your sword. You don't need powers like Luke Skywalker. But I want to be like Deathstalker. No, you don't.
No, you do not.
You'll get Kang sold.
Then Deathstalker raises the sword up to the amulet and cuts it down. He puts it around his neck and then turns his attention back to Kang and cuts his head off. Deathstalker turns around and yells for Munkar as Kang puts his head on, he puts it back on, and transforms back into the sorcerer. Munkar says, "I am here, Deathstalker. I've been waiting for you." He then uses his magic to teleport Deathstalker back to the city arena where he fought the Pigman earlier in the day. It's nighttime and deserted now. Set looks a lot better in the dark, by the way.
Yeah, I love this. I love this final sequence.
Yeah, me too. It's really cool. Deathstalker looks around as multiple Munkars step out of the shadows saying, "All the power comes to me." The production company did a great job with like the Munkar clones, you know?
Yeah,
like,
it looks good.
Yeah, because you'd have like some people in the background, but have the main actor like sort of in the foreground.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I liked it. Deathstalker starts cutting down fake Munkars as they laugh at him. He stops swinging his sword when he almost kills Princess Cordelia. The clones disappear and Munkar walks down from the real Munkar walks down from his throne with his magical chalice in hand. He casts a spell that causes Deathstalker's sword to become red hot and it burns his hands. He drops to his knees while still holding the sword and Munkar says, "You have no defense against me." Just then the witch Toralva appears and tells Deathstalker not to let illusions become fear. Embrace the power. Take the chalice.
Illusions are the ultimate weapon.
Munkar uses his magic to banish Toralva in a burst of fire. Munkar says, "The power is still mine." Deathstalker rises to his feet and says, "I don't want your life." He says, "I don't want your power. All I want is this world rid of you." But yeah, I can't hear "I don't want" without thinking, "I don't want your life."
I don't want your life. Yeah, it's hilarious.
I love that movie. Now we see people starting to fill the streets. The fighting brought them out of their homes. Munkar uses his magic to create a wall of fire, but Deathstalker just walks through it and rips the chalice out of the sorcerer's hands. He's about to strike down Munkar, but instead he throws his sword down and rips off the amulet. Deathstalker says,
"These powers have controlled men for too long.
These powers that I hold aloft.
These magical powers. With this fabulous sword.
Munkar.
Munkar. Munkar.
Munkar." It works. Munkar yells, "No! You don't know what you're doing!" and reaches for the chalice, but Deathstalker throws him into the crowd. They all grab the evil sorcerer and tie his arms and legs to two separate horses. So they tie his left arm and his left leg to one horse, right arm and right leg to another horse.
Just like Jennifer Jason Leigh in The Hitcher.
Yeah, and that was the scene that traumatized me with that movie. Zach, what year was the Hitcher?
The Hitcher? I want to say that was 1985, but I could be wrong. No, it was 86.
86. So I was born in 78, 86. So I was 8 years old when I saw that movie. Maybe if I'm lucky, I was 9.
You're probably 9 because I feel like these movies came out in the theater and then they came out on video like almost a year later.
Yeah, at that time it took a while. And that movie scared the ever-loving fuck out of me. I remember I had to watch it. My dad was watching, of course. I had to watch it from behind the couch. I had to be behind the couch, like peeking over the couch to watch it. And the part where she gets ripped in half just blew my mind. And here's the thing. I haven't seen that movie since then because I'm too scared to ever watch it again. And I believe you don't see her get ripped in half.
No, but you hear it.
But in my head, I know what happens. Like, it still lives in my fucking head. You know what I mean?
It's one of the most downbeat endings of an 80s horror film.
That was Eric Red, right?
Was that Eric Red?
I believe so. Because
I think
he
wrote it.
Right?
Did he write and
I think he wrote and directed it. Yeah.
Yeah, but man, oh man. Yeah, just dark.
Yeah, seriously. So, yes. So... Munkar,
Munkar.
He's about to be, hitchered. So Deathstalker holds the sword, the chalice, and the amulet above his head, and he says,
"All the powers of creation and chaos." I destroy you.
He combines them as Munkar is ripped in half down the middle by two horses. This death is great. It was very satisfying, and the gore was awesome.
This is how you kill a villain. Yeah. Unlike snapping your best friend's neck.
A bright light engulfs the magical items. Then there's a freeze frame of Deathstalker's face on the screen with like this weird cutout of the sword on fire, sort of halfway across the screen. Fade to black. Credits roll. The end.
Then you hear Queen go, "He'll save every one of us."
Dude, what a great... I mean, the movie ends literally with Munkar getting exploded in half, and then, our hero doing his hero thing, and bada bing, we don't even know if the princess gets reunited with her father. It doesn't matter. It doesn't fucking matter. The movie just ends.
Who cares? Who cares?
Who gives a shit? We're not here for that. We're here for the violence and the TNA. And this movie was awesome. It's awesome because of all of its weirdness. Like the fact that, Deathstalker is kind of an a-hole is weird. Like he doesn't quite hit these like heroic marks that you're expecting, even though the music tells us that he's the hero. And yet you're like, but he just killed his best friend. And yet we're supposed to be heroic and triumphant. But these are all the weird goofiness that makes this movie so spectacular.
Yeah, pair this with Treasure of the Four Condors and Four Crowns, and you've got yourself one heck of an evening.
Woo! Woo! So yeah, buddy. Final thoughts is this was your first time watching it, but this is a movie that we both have known our entire lives, existed and everything, but now that we've actually seen it for the first time, what are your final thoughts on it?
Well, as someone who lives in Eternia and lives in mostly peaceful existence unless Skeletor gets involved, I would say I was pleasantly surprised at Deathstalker. It definitely surpassed my expectations, and I'm so glad that He-Man is not the douchebag that Deathstalker is. No, it was way better than I expected, and thoroughly entertaining, and yeah, it was great. So Crystal, how we feel about your picks. You pick really good movies. Intruder is a mixed bag because we're just like, I think we were crapping on Sam Raimi's brother, but in that one. But you know what? It still had some really fun moments. Monster Squad is a classic, so it's Monster Squad is Monster Squad. This one is like, whoo, baby, Psycho Gorman, so much fun. Can't wait for Kostansky's version of this to come out. And thank you for picking it, and thank you for letting us break it down for you, and being a patron and an awesome supporter and friend.
Yeah, no, I second all of that, dude. I was so pleasantly surprised by this. I had a blast with it. Obviously the TNA is great, but the set design was fantastic. The locations were fantastic. It was just a fun movie from beginning to end. And I'm glad we watched it because I do see why Steven Kostansky wants to remake it.
Oh yeah.
And now I'm even more excited to see the remake, whenever it comes out. I hope it lives up to how amazing this one is. And like you said, at 80 minutes, this movie is so economical and it's so well paced. And I just want to reiterate, it's not about how long it takes to break it down. No. It's just how much fun it is. 80 minutes, this movie had no fat on the bone at all. It was all meat. It was all lean. It was all fucking Augus's abs. You know what I mean? It just was the entire movie was like that.
Yeah. And I'll clarify as well and say, as a Patreon supporter, and you can go to our Patreon and support the show, patreon.com/podcastingafterdark, and become, at the highest tier, you can become a producer of the show. You can pick whatever you want. just pick something fun, and we'll have a good time with it because everybody has chosen, overall, like really solid, fun picks for us to break down. Sometimes even like the most dramatic of movies can be wild and fun to break down.
Like
this
the
one
Believers.
But this one in particular was a hoot. So yeah, again, thank you, Crystal. It was balls to the wall action and douchebag He-Man. douchebag. That's not me. That's the other He-Man.
Anti-He-Man. This is definitely the anti-He-Man.
I would never be like that, right, Tila? That's right, He-Man.
There was even one time where he had an Deathstalker had like this outfit that just reminded me of like Galtar or what was that one?
Black Star.
Yeah, kind of reminded me of Black Star.
I'm John Blackstar.
So, anyways, yeah, if you like what we do, swing on over to podcastingafterdark.com. You can find links to everything. You can find links to our Patreon. You can find links to all of our social media. We have a merch store. You can pick up a t-shirt or 2 or 5 or 10, whatever you want to do. The holidays are coming up, so a t-shirt might be a nice gift for somebody. We have some great designs over there that I have actually designed myself personally. So yeah, swing on by podcastingafterdark.com and links to everything. Zach, this is dropping at the end of August, so why don't you tee up what's happening on Territory Marks this month?
Yeah, so those that don't know, I am over at $2 late fee, and at $2 late fee, we have a show on there called Territory Marks. It's an 80s wrestling show, because y'all know how much I love my wrestling.
You're wrestling.
With me and Paul London, wrestler and actor. And we're covering a match from 1986, I believe. It's Ravishing Rick Rude and Michael P.S. Hayes versus Kerry Von Erich and the Iceman King Parsons. And this one in particular is a great tag match because the manager of Rick Rude is Percy Pringle, a.k.a. Paul Bearer from the WWF. And this has now turned into the pre-episode to an upcoming interview that, as of this, I literally recorded this interview earlier today with a guy named Bill Mercer. Bill Mercer is 98 years old. He's the voice of World Class Championship Wrestling. He was the first on-scene reporter when John F. Kennedy was shot in Dallas.
Wow.
He doesn't talk about that in our interview. We focus on the wrestling, but I will tell you that, the man is a legend. Tracking him down was quite a story. You'll hear that in the intro to that interview. And what transpired from that interview is what transpired from getting the interview to actually doing the interview is a trip. Because someone joined us. Actually, if you go to our Instagram, you can see a little behind the scenes of someone involved with the interview. It's a really big deal because he's 98 years old and he's
my
a
God,
legend.
yeah, that's a huge deal, dude.
So that's going to be on our YouTube channel. It'll be obviously in our audio feed as well. I think they'll probably drop in September, but this Territory Marks episode is a lot of fun. And, I edited these just like Corey edits the Podcasting After Dark episodes. We take pride in putting out the best quality product we can when it comes to podcasts. So, your audio and video pleasure are our pleasure. So, I hope you can check out Territory Marks. Even if you're not a wrestling fan and some things might be over your head, it's still a fun listen to because Paul is great. He's super entertaining, and I have my moments. He-Man.
Yeah, I've always said I can listen to anything as long as someone's passionate about what they're talking about. I mean, fuck, I could listen to someone talk about manhole covers and the invention of them if they're passionate about it.
Right.
And I'm not a big wrestling guy, but I've been around wrestling fans and friends my entire life. And I love Territory Marks. I learn stuff from Territory Marks. But I love the fact, I love your love for it. And I think that's what really makes it,
Yeah, and the cool thing is, stay tuned because we're not going to spoil what's coming up in September, but we will say that Corey will be involved with territory marks in some way in September, and there will be a lot of really fun stuff coming your way.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways,
September's going to be big. September's going to be real big.
It's going to be huge. Yeah. And I believe is it the end of this month? It might be at the end of this month. Podcast Awards, where the $2 late fee was nominated for, I think are going to be revealed.
Oh, cool.
Either at the end of this month or September.
Okay.
So that's coming
Hopefully
up
we'll
as
have
well.
some good news for everybody out there.
I hope so, yeah. Well, just being nominated was cool, but, that would
that's
be
awesome,
icing
man.
on the cake. Yeah. Thank you.
So go check out $2 late fee's Instagram page, our Instagram page, and you can find all those links on our website, $2 late fee's website. That's TWO, $2latefee.com, and podcastafterdark.com. And as always,
well, if this was Eternia, I'd say we'll catch you on the Eternian side, but it's not. It's the douchebag universe. So we'll catch you on the Deathstalker side.
Krista.
Fade out. He-Man. Crystal. Be sure to subscribe to Podcasting After Dark and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes. Support Podcasting After Dark on Patreon. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Podcasting After Dark. And visit us next time for another installment of Podcasting After Dark with Corey Stevenson and Zach Schaefer.
Hello, and welcome to Vampire. Vampire is a wildly ambitious, independent horror comedy film.
It is fun, sexy, thrilling, and unpredictable from start to finish.
On the surface, Vampire is a slasher flick set in the 90s.
References Bambi, but it's not just, Bambi, but horror. It's its own thing, and it has a real story to tell.
Vampire is a story that I wrote to encapsulate my own experience growing up in the wilds of Alaska, seeing humankind interact with nature.
So to me, Vampire is just like a fantastic horror comedy, just like a classic kind of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, early Scream era.
It's also a gore fest that will make you wonder if we took the actors back there and really mauled them like that.
It is going to be so wildly entertaining.
It's visceral, it's energetic, it's emotional, it's popcorn, it's candy. It feels like watching a movie. It's a movie.